Today's sutta is called Khajjaniya Sutta, the discourse on the devoured. Khajjaniya comes from the word khadati. Khadati means to eat. So Khajjaniya is a kind of, it's a verb meaning a kind of passive thing. In other words, it happens to us. We are devoured by the aggregates, by the 5 aggregates. And this is from S2279, 22.79. So you can see all this information here. Sutta Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 22, Sutta 29. So this chapter 22 is called Khajjaniya Sutta. All right. So this top line here is a traditional, the ancient numbering before the West discovered Buddhism. In Burma, Sri Lanka, Thailand, they have this number, S337. Sometimes the number can go more than 3, 4, or 5. So Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 3, which is Skanda Samyutta, the collected teachings on the aggregates. Part 3, which is Khajjaniya Sutta, Sutta 7. It is also called the Dutiya Siha Sutta. This is not the very correct title, but somehow it's known by this sutta, the second lion discourse. It's about the aggregates that lead to liberation. And here's the year we first translated this 2006, quite long ago. No? All right, so now this sutta is interesting in the sense that it's a practice sutta. So we'll do a bit of responsive reading afterwards. We're going to reflect on the sutta. We're going to become the sutta. Remember, when you come for a class like this, it's not about knowing more and more. That's just the opposite of learning about suttas, because scholars learn more and more. And of course, some of them, they also practice. Whereas for us as practicing Buddhists, we learn more and more about less and less, so that we learn to let go, basically, renunciation. So knowing the suttas is to help us learn to let go. Let go of what? You can say let go of our clinging, our attachment to the aggregates. We tend to react to all these things that we are, the 5 aggregates: form, that's our body, including our health, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness. So we tend to create ideas about all these things, and then we react to those ideas, and it affects us, and it goes back and forth like that. And this, of course, is very interesting. If you know psychology and you read all these things, you say, wow, yeah, it becomes very clear now. And if you know psychology, I think it's much easier to understand Buddhism. You're going to discover a lot of wonderful things. As someone who lived 2,500 years ago, I mean, he really knows so much about this, because he went right into the mind. This is the wonderful thing. The Buddha discovered the mind, and we are learning about this. The problem is the language is 2,000 over years old, 2,500 years old. And it's like a transcript of what the Buddha actually said. It is coded. It is repetitive because it's an oral tradition. But if you understand this, the nature of the oral tradition, I'm talking about the early Buddhist texts, with your education, your training, then you can, and your practice, of course, you can understand what the Buddha himself experienced. And that's what we try to do here. And when I translate the suttas, I write about the suttas, I write about early Buddhism, this is what I try to do. I try to write it from an experiential viewpoint, from how I experience it, how we can experience it, and how we can be happier, at least, if not, we progress towards the path. So we study the sutta for practice. What is the meaning of practice? To let go of the self so that we go closer to the path. We become stream winners, Basically, to be a Srimina means you let go this attachment to the idea of the self. It doesn't, you see, that the thing is, I said we let go of the idea of the self, but we're still, you know, controlled by the self, so to speak. Only the Arahat is totally free from the subtle aspects of the self, because the self is what makes us survive as a human species, for example. So all this makes very fascinating study. So you can see the Buddha formulated all these interesting points. The Buddha is not, the Buddha's teaching is not some book that writes some very inspiring and mind-boggling statements where people quote and then, you know, they even fight over it, they go to wars over it. And we're not that kind of religion. The suttas records the Buddha's experiences, so they are like instructions for us to get to that peaceful state. And this is one of the suttas we're going to look at, how the Buddha does it. All right. So let's look at the translation itself on page 192. Yes, Khajjaniya Sutta, the discourse on the devoured, S 2279. You know, I started translating suttas many years ago, about 50 years ago. I can say 50 years because I'm 75, so actually longer than 50 years ago, because I was a kind of a very young man. I was 19 when I first became a monk. And then when I reached 20, I took the higher orders. So I was already studying suttas then. And it really makes us, it make me easier to understand the suttas after so many years, after so many decades, of course. We have that very comfortable and joyful feeling. We look at the sutta, we say, oh, okay, this is amazing, this is wonderful. Even after we have looked at it for so many decades, you know, it's amazing. You keep looking at this. It's like you're married to someone and you know this person and you live with this person for so long and you look at this person each time you learn new things. So the suttas, the Dharma is like that. And if you learn to love the sutta, this is what happens. It speaks back to you, so to speak. You begin to hear this voice explaining to you some of these difficult points. This is amazing. It happens just like that. It's not the normal human voice, but it's the voice of knowledge, voice of wisdom. And sometimes it happens in dreams also. I get interesting ideas in dreams and I say, oh yeah, okay, I wake up and get it written down. Of course, you got to do a lot of metta before you sleep, otherwise you won't get good dreams. All right, Khajjaniya Sutta, the discourse on the devoured. Either you remember the Pali title, Khajjaniya Sutta, or the English translation, the discourse on the devoured, or simply the devoured, or if you're good with numbers, S22.79. About numbers, sometimes the numbering may not agree. The Burmese numbering, English numbering, the Siamese or Thai numbering, they might differ occasionally, not all the time. So anyway, just as long as you remember one number, you somehow will kind of have a connection with that sutta. So this is from Sangyutta. It's from a big collection. There's no Ewang Me Sutta here. The sutta starts right away and says at Sawati. So because the Ewang Me Sutta, that's what I heard, is right at the start of the chapter. So this is one of those many teachings put under this collection. This is number 79, if you notice. So there's quite a lot of suttas in that collection. All right, what is recall? What do we recall, right? So this is the heading. This heading is what I added in. It's not in the sutta. This is to help us kind of have an idea what we are reading. We are following the scribal or written tradition. But remember, we are reading the oral tradition, the transcript of the oral tradition. 3. Again, these numberings are all what modern Buddhists added in for the sake of convenience. Bhikshus, these recluses and Brahmins who recall many past lives, all recall the 5 aggregates of clinging, or a certain one amongst them. In other words, one of the aggregates. So whatever we recall yesterday, day before, long ago, many years ago, and then go back previous lives, you can only recall the aggregates. You recall the form, you recall the feeling, you recall the perception, formation, and the consciousness. And there is clinging there, because we are not arahats. There is greed, hate, delusion there. That's another way of putting it. What are the 5? Notice here that the Buddha is always reminding us, okay, these are the 5 aggregates. We tend to forget what are the 5 aggregates. So they are repeated, right? Well, as long as you can remember one of the aggregates, is a good start, all right? Bhikshus, when recalling thus, I had such form in the past. It is just the form that one recalls, right? So this recalling the form, the first aggregate. When recalling thus, I had such feeling in the past. It's just that feeling one recalls. When recalling thus, I had such perception in the past. It is just perception that one recalls. When recalling thus, I had such formations in the past. It is just formations that one recalls. When recalling thus, I had such consciousness in the past. It is just consciousness that one recalls. All right, let me just give a bit of a brief explanation. The first is the most common thing. We have photographs of ourselves, and then we say, okay, this is how I look like, all right? And it's always very nice to look at some of the old photos when we were younger, when our loved ones were younger. They look so different now. You know, at my age, at our advanced age, we begin to see, wow, how people change. Our young friends become old, and they're really old friends, pun intended or unintended. And in a sense, you begin to wonder, you know, how people change so fast, and how time flies so quickly. And what are we doing with this time? That's the interesting thing is, if I find that I can have all the time I want to translate the suttas, it's because I don't feel bored translating the suttas. I don't allow myself to feel bored. And how do I do that? I stop when I notice, okay, I'm tired, or I don't fight trying to do it. That way you enjoy doing it. Sometimes I do just one paragraph. And when it's very interesting, I do more things. The same thing with proofreading. I tell my proofreaders, I said, look, this is not a task I'm giving you. This take it like meditation. You stop when you're tired. You're reading the suttas. You're reading writings about the Dharma. So that way you find it's fun. You read it because your life matters. It's about your life. You're reading just about yourself. So that's how we keep Buddhism a part of our life. It becomes interesting. So you see this form, what you were in the past. That's it. That's all there is to it. Just smile and say, well, there you are, impermanent, right? So you reflect on impermanence. Something not spoken here. What happens when you look at this form? You feel impermanence. That is the practice. You feel it. You realize it. Stay with that understanding, and then you look around in your real life, the people around you. You see their bodies, you see their faces, you see their hair, you see their limbs. They're changing. Suddenly they're gone. Those loved ones, they were there so strong, talking with us, and then next thing they're gone. Time is up. As the Sutta says, time is done. So impermanence, you reflect impermanence, you go on doing this, you're bound for stream winning, for the path. How? Because this kind of thinking, this kind of attitude keeps you centered in life. You don't get pulled by all kinds of advertisements. There's so much advertisements in the world today. Advertisements are based on greed, hatred, delusion. That's how it works, and if we get caught up with it, then we will never be happy. So we can talk a lot about this on reflection on form alone. So let's go on to feeling now. So when we think about the past, oh, I had this feeling, that feeling, I was so happy, so in love, or whatever, right? You can even think about negative thoughts, and you say, wow, I'm happy, all those thoughts are gone, and I don't feel them anymore. So again, you see, you notice feelings can change. You like them, you like the nice ones, you don't like the not so nice ones, and there are feelings we don't make sense of. But one thing that unifies them all is they're all impermanent, they're they're changing. Even the nice feelings, don't feel too much about them. They will go away. And the bad feelings also will go away. Then there are those feelings we don't make sense of. They're also impermanent. So you let go of them. And then you don't feel any trouble about it. New feelings will come, that you deal with them. Perception is a bit more tricky. It's how you see things, how you make of things, so to speak, how you make out things. You see something and then you decide what is it going to be. The suttas say perception is like looking at the color. You see a color, you recognize it. Another word you can use here is recognition. You remember something about this. And very often, how we connect with others is through memory. We remember someone, we look at the face, and then we act accordingly, or we react accordingly. So that's perception. So again, here, we look at ourselves. How do we perceive people? How do we remember things? How do we recognize things? Do we look for happy things? Do we look for sad things? Right? It's not worth looking for sad and troubling things. Right? At the same time, we have to be careful how we look for happy things, because sometimes when we look for happy things, we can make other people unhappy. So we have to learn to adjust ourselves in such a way that we also connect with people. And that connection is happiness. And that's how we come to formations. Formation here, I like the formation because it reflects the meaning, sankhara. It means to form ideas. I like just one word, because it fits very nicely into this page. Some people, they try to be more accurate. They say karma formation. Sometimes I also use karma formations, karmic formations. All these are words we use to help the audience we have. So basically, this formation refers to the karma, the creation of intentional actions, body, speech, and mind. Right? So we remember something, we perceive something, and then we create these ideas in our mind. The moment greed, hatred, delusion arise, karma formations have arisen. The moment the wholesome aspect, charity, love or loving kindness, sometimes I use the word love, very simple word, or wisdom arises, right? So then if that's your intention, that is good karma. For example, you join this sutta class with good intentions. You're happy doing this. You say, I want to learn. Oh, this is interesting. I feel good. Maybe sometimes you don't even say it. You have this feeling inside you. It's something you like, something worthwhile. You feel happy about it. So you have this wonderful, wholesome karma formations working for you. That is why we have to remember all these wonderful, positive things that happens in our life, rather than remembering the negative things. So this is formations, in short, karma. And the last one, consciousness, is this broad stage on which all the other four happens. It is your mind. it's not just the mind, it's the mind watching all these things going on. This mind is the director, and the actors are form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. That's one way of putting it. Another way is the five senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. So consciousness watches through all these five physical senses. And the mind also has its own kind of sense. That is the mind. The mind remembers things, imagines it, and dreams about these things. It's funny, as people age, maybe in my case, as I age, I often dream about my friends, about my children when they were younger, and how they were happy and doing amazing things. And so your mind works in wonderful ways if you allow it. That is why we use a lot of metta. We do a lot of loving kindness. And these simple practices enrich your life. The things I do if I can't sleep, let's say I get up at 4 o'clock in the mornings, I can go on sleeping on my bed in my bedroom. But I love to go into the sitting room because our house is oriented east-west. That's really amazing. And we have really big windows. So I will sit on this lazy chair. It's quite, and just to make sure I don't catch cold, with my blanket along. So I sit there, I just sleep there until the smile of day breaks. That's what the Vinaya says. The smile of the night pierces through the darkness of the night. And I feel so happy when I begin to see this slight glow of brightness in the sky in front of me through my open windows. I can also see the beautiful full moon on the full moon day through the same windows. And at once I will say Namo Tassa, three refuges, five precepts. It's the most wonderful. You feel so happy, you just want to say those things. And you begin your day like that. You feel so good, you feel so happy, right? So there's always something in your house, your area. Look for those happy spots, those happy arrangements, and just enjoy it. And you find you feel really happy, and people somehow are drawn to you. They want to learn the Dharma because you're happy. Right, so that's the mind, how we deal with the mind. Okay, so those are the five aggregates. Reflect on them. Right, now the Buddha goes on a little deeper. Is what he's going to talk about in this sutta. He defines the aggregates in a different way. 5. And what bhikshus is called form, rupa. It is transformed. Brackets, that means it's an alternate translation. You can choose either one. It is molested, rupati, bhikshus. Therefore, it is called form. Okay, here again, the Buddha has a little bit of humor here. It is called form because it changes. That's one meaning. And rupati is polysemic. That means it's got 2 or 3 meanings working at the same time. So rupati can also mean it troubles you, it molests you, it disturbs you. Form disturbs us, right? You sit too long, you feel pain. As we age, we get all kinds of aches all over the body, right? We're being molested. The body molests us, right? So that's the meaning. That's called form, the body. Transform or molested by what? Transform or molested by cold. Transform or molested by heat. Transformed by hunger. Transformed by thirst. Transformed by the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and serpents. The Buddha was talking to an audience 2,500 years ago. Because today, we can't imagine seeing a serpent when we walk outside, because the serpents are more afraid of us than we are of them. But wind, sun, heat, we get a lot of that. It is transformed bhikshus, therefore it was called form. There you are. You see, so the Buddha is telling us this body is your experience of things around you. That's our body. In other words, the body are the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, right? So earth is the solid aspects, the skin and bones, teeth, and then water, the liquid in our body. Most of our body is liquid. Fire is heat, the heat of our body. And then the last one is wind, movement, motion. Right? All right, next, 6. And what bhikshus is called feeling? Vedana. It feels, vedayati, bhikshus, therefore it is called feeling. What does it feel? It feels pleasure, it feels pain. It feels neither pleasure, it feels neither pain nor pleasure. It feels bhikshus, therefore it is called feeling. It sounds a bit uninteresting, a bit banal, even in English. Right? So what? Feeling is tautologous, we have all kind of words for it. But in Pali, it helps us to see how words are formed. And so the verb is vedayati. And from vedayati, you get vedana. So here, basically, what we are reminded is you have the action, vedayati, and you have the thing, vedana. It is the action. When we look back, we see it as a thing, so to speak, right? But the real thing is what is happening now, vedayati, this feeling that arises in us. So this feeling, we can, if we see as pleasant, that means non-molesting, then we like it. If we see as unpleasant, as molesting, we don't like it. And if there's something unfamiliar, something new, then we see it as neither pain nor pleasure. Now, this is the way the Pali says it, dukkha sukha, right? One word is neutral. If you want to have a simpler translation, you just say pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And then you have 7, you have perception. And what bhikshus is called perception, sanya. It perceives, sanjanati. Bhikshus, therefore it is called perception. Now, notice sanjanati. You have sang. The sun, the prefix san is sang, S-A-M, with a dot. It's similar to English or Latin com or con, right? Now you see this the nya, the n with the wiggly sound over it, instead of the m dot because of the j, right? So the sanjanati is easy to pronounce, as a flow of it. You see this a bit in English also. You notice in English you have com and con. They're the same word. But why one is com and the other is con? Whenever you look at the prefix com, the following letter is of the same family as M. It is called the labial family. That means the letters are formed at the lips. M, P. You see, when you say M, P, the lips touch each other. So, com, you say compare. Com, a compassion, right? Or you can, it has its own, another M, like communicate, right? MM and so on, right? So there's M. Then con will be dental, N, all right? So contact, right? The T also is dental. In other words, the sound, according to Pali, comes from near the teeth, so to speak. It's just a grammatical term used to help remember the source of sound in Pali. So contact, right? So it becomes N. So that's called the law of Sandhi. So you study Pali, you begin to see all these interesting things in English too. All right, so sanjanati, janati means to know. There are many words that combine sanjanati. So here, sang in front, meaning shows us a sense of coming together. We put ideas together and then we know things, right? Sanjanati. That's the meaning is perceive. It perceives. It is what? It is you, me, perceive. Pictures, therefore it is called perception. And what does it perceive? It perceives blue, it perceives yellow, it perceives red, it perceives white. It perceives pictures, therefore it is called perception. Right, so here, according to the Buddha, this perception recognizes. The idea of using color is to help us understand the meaning of recognition. We recognize it, oh, this is blue. Well, I know this is red, and so on, right? So this idea of recognition. Okay. Now next is 8. What bhikshus is called formations, sankhara. They construct the condition, sankatang abhisankaronti. Right? Sankatang means condition, constructed. And then abhisankaronti. Right? You notice sankara is there again with abhi in front. And anti at the end means it's plural. If it is singular, it is sankaroti. Sankaronti is plural, right? So abhisankaronti, they construct, they build up the condition. Condition things that we look around us, ideas of things. We construct the condition. Whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, all the things around us, they're conditioned things. We're conditioned by our senses, conditioned by our ignorance, by our knowledge. They construct a condition, because therefore they are called formations, right? Form, construct. The two verbs with the same meaning. And what are the conditions that they construct? Okay, this part is very interesting. What are the conditions that they construct? If you like, what are the conditioned things that they construct? They construct condition form as form. Notice condition form. So what? Even our body is conditioned. It's how we treat our body. And that's what we get. You don't take care of the body, you don't watch what you eat, you don't exercise, you don't rest, and your body will not be good. You take proper food, proper meals, you exercise, you rest, and you feel happy, then your body also will be good, will be happy. That's how you condition it. They construct conditioned feelings as feeling, same thing, right? Being happy is a habit. Being nasty, being stupid is a habit. Right? We can change. We say, I want to learn, right? And that's how you change. They construct conditioned perception as perception. How we recognize things. Also, we learn to recognize letters, right? So when we're very young, you find we do not know the letters, and slowly we pick all this. Now we can read very well. So through perception, we have mastered the alphabet. Through mastering the alphabet, we master language. Through reading, we master literature, philosophy, the Dharma, and so on. They construct conditioned formations as formations, right? So our minds will create all kinds of ideas, all kinds of things through greed, hatred, delusion, through charity, love, and wisdom, good karma, bad karma. They construct conditioned consciousness as consciousness. Consciousness is how the senses work. Your nose, tongue, body, and mind, how they work, right? So how we work with them too. They construct the conditioned bhikshus, therefore they're called formations. So these are the 5 aggregates. And what bhikshus is called consciousness, vijnana. Here is another interesting Pali word. You have vi, pronounced as vi, that's the prefix. Vi here meaning to bifurcate, to break up, to divide, to cut up. And jnana means knowing, knowledge, right? So vijnana is what kind of break things up. Consciousness, notice when you wake up in the morning, if you are thoughtful, you notice, okay, am I awake, or am I dreaming, or am I smelling something, or what is it? So we decide which of the senses is working, right? So that's called vijnana. We are conscious of what? Of either seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or thinking. That's called cognize. It cognizes vijanati. Notice the word janati again, right? Just now was sanjanati. This is vijanati. So here janati with a vi in front, meaning in different forms. It cognizes, which therefore it is called consciousness. And what does it cognize? It cognizes sour, it cognizes bitter, it cognizes spicy, hot, It recognizes sweet, it recognizes sharp, it recognizes mild, it recognizes salty, it recognizes bland or unsalted. It recognizes which is what is called consciousness. So here, the object the Buddha uses to define consciousness is taste, right? Because taste is subjective. Someone may like a certain taste, someone else will not like, someone else tastes differently, right? For example, Ratna and I, we have totally very different tastes when it comes to food. So this depends on our consciousness. So that's how you can see how observant the Buddha is in terms of the 5 aggregates. Right, now we come to the heart of the sutta, where the Buddha talks about the 5 aggregates devouring us. This is quite a dramatic metaphor, no? Devoured by the aggregate, section 10. Therein, bhikshus, the tutored noble disciple reflects the, notice, tutored noble disciple. So this is the stream winner and so on, or any wise person, practitioner can reflect in this way. It's not easy, but because we have to understand this, so let us try to read this and see what it means for us. I am right now being devoured by form. In the past too, I was devoured by form in just the same way that I am now being devoured by a present form. If I were to seek delight in a future form, then in the future too, I will be devoured by form in just the same way that I am now being devoured by the present form. Having reflected thus, he is indifferent to a past form. He does not delight in a future form. He does not delight. He practices for the sake of revulsion towards the present form, for its fading away, for its cessation. Now, this is deep teaching, so we have to look at it a bit. No? And this is the first one. Once you understand form, the rest of it fits in very nicely. Okay, first, what does it mean I'm being devoured by form right now? This body demands a lot of things. For example, we can sit too long here, right? We used to have 2 hours of study. I find it quite tiring for me, so we cut it down to 1.5 hours, and it's just nice. We manage to look at the sutta, right? So this body demands all kinds of things. Our body gets hungry, it wants food. Our bodies feels uncomfortable. We need to wash, we need to feel cool and clean. We want to go out in the open. We want to rest. The body needs sleep, and so on, right? So the body is very demanding. That's another way of putting it. We're devoured by this nature of the body. The word doesn't sound much now, but there'll come a time. Now we are learning this vocabulary because there'll come a time when we say, wow, I heard this before. I know about this. So it is in this sutta, Buddha talks about the nature of the body. And in the future, this will happen, right? And then you see other people also suffering because of their body, for example. And you see the same thing with feelings. I'm not going to go through all this because you already have a good idea of the structure of the format of the passage. So feeling, same thing. The present feeling is devouring us. Feelings are very powerful, right? We get caught up with something nice. We want to do this, we want to do that, or we don't want to do it because we don't feel good about it. So we have to deal with feelings. But feelings, feelings sometimes devour certain people. It really messes them up. It really makes them unhappy. And if only they understand the nature of feelings, then they say, oh, it's just a feeling. I can let go of this feeling. It doesn't have to trouble me. See, people suffer because they identify with it. Later on in the sutta, you see this. I am that feeling. Then you are in trouble. You're going to suffer. All right. So we say, no, I'm letting this go. Then you won't be troubled by this feeling. Now it gets a little bit more subtle now. So 13, further down. Go down a bit more. Right. I am devoured by perception. Here we might say, oh, what's wrong with recognizing things? We perceive things. Well, the thing is, we don't just perceive things. You notice there's always subtext. We look at people, we say, oh, this guy is like this, like that. And then we react in a certain way, right? So and sometimes we make mistakes. We say things which hurt people. Or we make a fool of ourselves. We say the wrong things. So this perception can be quite tricky, right? So this perception devours us. Perception, something went wrong and we didn't really act properly because of this perception. So we have to be wise on the nature of perception. We have to, how do we become wise? We review, we look back, we say, okay, this is what happened. Now I got to correct this. And if you have your meditation, you can calmly correct it within you. Now, formations, the next one, 14 is formation, that is the karma. Basically, this is a rising of greed, hate, and delusion. This can be also quite tricky because when greed arises, it's not easy to overcome it unless you train yourself. Hatred is easier to overcome. This is what the sutta says, you know, anger, hatred. We do metta, or someone tells us, don't get angry. You know, you just say, don't get angry, people become calm. Delusion is even more tricky. We don't even know we're deluded, right? So this is where we got to prepare ourselves with wisdom to understand what delusion is and deal with it, so that we don't use this greed, hate, delusion to create the bad kind of karma. So but it works on us anyway. This formation devour us because we keep getting caught up with greed, hate, and delusion. And then there is consciousness. This is devouring us all the time, demanding our attention. The moment we are awake, our eyes want us to see this, see that. Our ear wants to hear this and that, smell, taste, touch, and of course, thinking. So we are drawn in 6 different ways. Of course, right now, you're wise enough, you're strong enough. You say, I'm only going to listen to Piya. I'm going to listen to this sutta. But then again, you notice there is this part of you, part of us, going here, wandering there, all right? So there are these 6 contestants looking for our attention. So we have to decide how to be mindful. Be mindful means getting the 6 senses to work for the purpose of better self-understanding and the rise of wisdom and freedom. Right? So that's the understanding of consciousness. Okay, now we come to a very interesting practice, which is very useful to know, especially when you're dealing with some negative emotions. Disowning the aggregates. I used to use the term, disowning the pain. So it's very similar. 16. What do you think, bhikshus? Is form permanent or impermanent? Okay, now this is where I'm going to read and then you're going to respond. Okay, so that we have a reflection, because this is quite familiar. So you can please turn on your audio, your unmute yourself. So when I will read the question and then you answer, so that we have a better way of remembering things. And then also we're running out of time, so we have to kind of go through this in this way. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think, bhikshus? Is form permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
That which is impermanent, bhikshus, is it suffering or pleasurable?
Suffering.
That which is impermanent, suffering, subject to change, is it fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself.
No.
Now, what do you think, bhikshus? Is feeling permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
That which is impermanent, bhikshus, is it suffering or pleasurable?
Suffering, Bhante.
That which is impermanent, suffering, subject to change, is it fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
What do you think, bhikshus? Is perception permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent, Bhante.
That which is impermanent, bhikshus, is it suffering or pleasurable?
Suffering, Bhante.
That which is impermanent, suffering, subject to change, is it fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
What do you think, bhikshus? Are formations permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
That which are impermanent, bhikshus, are they suffering or pleasurable?
Suffering, Bhante.
That which is impermanent, suffering, subject to change, are they fit to be regarded as these are mine, these I am, these are myself?
No, Bhante.
What do you think, bhikshus? Is consciousness permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent, Bhante.
That which is impermanent, bhikshus, is it suffering or pleasurable?
Suffering, Bhante.
That which is impermanent, suffering, subject to change, is it fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
Sadhu. Okay. So now the sutta goes on to totality formula. In other words, just apply these five aggregates, and the truth behind it applies in different ways to time, to space, and so on. 21. Therefore, bhikshus, whatever kind of form there is, you can put form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, any of the aggregates, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. All forms should be seen as they really are, with correct wisdom thus. These are not mine, these I am not, these are not myself. This is called disowning the pain. I'm letting go of this. I don't need this. I don't want this. Right? So here, past, present, future, of course, in terms of time, this is true in terms of time. This is true whether it's for yourself internally or externally, other people. It is true whether it's gross or subtle, in other words, whether it is physical or it is mental, inferior or superior, whether it is of this worldly feeling or deep in meditation. Far or near, my understanding far or near, it means in this world and also in other worlds. If you go to some aliens will come here, you find this is also true. So this is called the totality formula because it gives a total view of the five aggregates. The truth is complete. Okay. All right, so I've summarized the five aggregates there. And then we have the learners, next section, page 198. 26. Bhikshus, this is called a noble disciple. Noble disciple means someone who has at least attained stream winning, who dismantles or diminishes and does not pile up. He abandons and does not cling. He dissociates and does not associate. He extinguishes and does not kindle. Okay, these are words for practicing. Dismantle, that means when you look at form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, you find they're all made of parts. And then we begin to see this in our reflections. And then we kind of let go of them in that sense. They abandon. We say, okay, that's it. I'm letting it go. I'm not going to let it trouble me. Dissociate means you have nothing to do with it. You're not going to remember it. You're not going to bring it up again because they're not very useful. And then finally, you extinguish them. They totally don't trouble you, right? So all these, each of this line are repeated for the five aggregates. For example, look at 27. And what is that he dismantles and does not pile up? Form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. What is 28? What is it that he abandons and does not cling to? Again, form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. What is it that he does not associate with? Same thing, form, feeling, perception, consciousness, formations, consciousness. And what does it extinguish? Right? What does the Arhat, the Buddha, let go of totally, quench, extinguish? Form, feeling, perception, consciousness, formation, consciousness. And they are awakened that way. Then the last part is the adept. The adept here, of course, is the Arahat. Saying thus pictures the noble disciple feels revulsion. Okay, revulsion is a powerful word. That means to have nothing to do with it. They know what all these aggregates are. This is a very deep level, right? These are the Arahats, the Buddha. They know exactly what all this form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness are. Through feeling revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Through being dispassionate, his mind is free. When it is free, there arises the knowledge. Freed am I. He understands, destroy this birth. The holy life has been lived, and what needs to be done has been done. There is no more of this state of being. This is the famous spot passage defining the Arhat. Pictures, this is called a noble disciple. He neither dismantles nor piles up. Well, this phrase is strange. Early on, the Sutta says dismantle. Here it says doesn't dismantle. He doesn't need to do it anymore because he has already given it up. That's the meaning here. And because he's already free from all this, he doesn't pile up anything. Having dismantled, he stands, so he remains the way, that means he's calm. He's just like that, like Tathagata. All right, nothing new happens to him, no more suffering. So it doesn't have to abandon, it doesn't have to cling. It doesn't, normal action as we understand it in our daily life. And then 33, he neither dismantles nor piles up because he has extinguished all these 5 aggregates. And then he also doesn't have to abandon or cling to them for the same reason. This is enlightenment language. The Arahat doesn't have to act in the way that we have to struggle at this point. And same thing, he does not associate with it or dissociate with it because he's already awakened. All these 5 gates are just there. He doesn't have, he's not troubled by that. And now we come to the last passage, 37. Having extinguished, he stands thus, read in mind. This monk, bhikshus, the devas with Indra, with Brahma, with Prajapati, worship from afar, right? So even the gods worship this kind of person who is awakened. And how do they worship? They say, Namo te Purisajanya, Namo te Purisuttama, Yassate Nabijanama, Yampi Nisaya Jayasiti. Homage to you, O thoroughbred of men. Homage to you, O highest of men. We ourselves do not directly know, relying on what you meditate, right? So these are the gods. Even the gods themselves need this knowledge because the gods are so caught up with samsara. Right, sadhu. So end the sutta here. All right, we have 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Piya, for the teaching. Now we go to our Q&A. Sister Aisin, please take over. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Ratna. Thank you, Brother Piya, for the teaching. The first question from Sister Huilin.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of objects are considered difficult to penetrate? The one considered far in the commentary.
Oh, this far or near, what I call, it's not to penetrate or anything in this case. It's just saying that these 5 aggregates, whether they are here on Earth, or you go, if you happen to go to deep space, far away, you find still the same truth. So it's kind of universal, in other words. Okay, far or near means that, right? So what the Buddha is preparing for future, when we should go beyond the Earth, beyond our solar system, even if you like, you find this is the same truth. not like other religions, because you find other religions will not apply in other systems, other universes. They will say, oh, that's your earth religion. They got a different kind of realm, you know. You see sort of Star Wars movies or the Star Trek movies, you find there's so many of these strange foreign races, their religions are different, but they will agree when we talk about impermanence and the Buddha's teaching. Okay, I hope that helps in answering your question. Yes.
Okay, Brother Piya, the second question is from Sister Helene also. Can clarify more on what exactly is meant by dismantle compared to disassociate in the context of the sutta for the learner?
Okay.
Both appear to be similar.
Dismantle and dissociate, is it? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
my understanding now, this is the Buddha describing the Arahat, you know, so I can be mistaken here. My understanding from the suttas, dismantle means you look, for example, you look at form, you say, okay, I have this body, but it's made up of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, right? So let's say when you exercise, no, you feel the earth when you're standing on the ground, you are, what do you call this? You feel you clap your hands, or you feel your body, the hardness, the bones, right? That is earth. You're dismantling it into its parts. Then you sweat, that's water. You feel warm, it's fire. And of course, you're moving all the time, right? So when you exercise, if you reflect carefully, you're dismantling the aggregates, the body. You're dismantling form into the 4 elements. Dissociate, here it goes a little, you need a little bit more effort. For example, there is pain arising in you, but you don't let the pain overcome you. So you see the pain as it is, you say, okay, this is pain, and letting it go, right? You know it is pain, but you don't suffer. See, I have to write about this in the last part of the article on Devadatta, because he caused the Buddha so much pain, but then the Buddha did not suffer, you see? Suffering is our attitude towards pain. So when you dissociate yourself with pain, you don't identify it. Associate means you identify it. Oh, I feel so painful. Devadatta is hurting me, bad Devadatta, and so on, right? So then you suffer, you know? So you don't blame people. On the contrary, you feel, in a sense, you try to understand them, you try to be compassionate to them because they're suffering. Now, very often people don't understand. People, we think, oh, you're angry with me. Actually, if you look carefully at them, they're afraid something wrong might happen. So they say it, and urgently it sounds like anger. So when you dissociate from your own negative thoughts, you begin to understand people better. It's also helpful in that way. So dissociate means to let go of that I, me, mine thing. That's one way of looking at it. All right. Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, Brother Piya. Yes, the next question from Brother LC.
Okay.
So what is the differences between what I have learned of the 5 aggregates as contact, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness compared with this current teaching of form, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness?
Well, they're all the same. This is one question I can't answer because it's something you have to work with. All right. I can give you a talk, take another hour. I don't think you want that. So this is where you say, okay, I've learned this. You cannot expect everything teacher to spoon feed you. Okay, you hear the suttas, you hear the Dharma, you already have some idea there, and then you look around in life. I do not know what's going to happen to you, because that is what the interesting part of the Dharma is. You begin to discover for yourself. Very often, when I look at the sutta, I say, oh dear, I don't know what this sutta is trying to tell me. But then when I read through it, I say, wow, this is interesting. So I discover it for myself. So discover for yourself what you have learned today, and then you try to see how it fits in with the other things you have learned. That's how your wisdom grows. Okay. All right. Any more questions?
Yes, Brother Piya, the next question from Dr. Pang Chenka.
Okay.
If perception is helpful or healthy, for example, an anicca, why should we abandon it? Similarly, if a recollection bracket anusati, why do we abandon it?
Right. Everything in life needs to be abandoned in a matter of time. Begin with the simplest thing in our life, our breath, right? When you meditate, you breathe in, you must breathe out. To live, every moment you breathe in, you have to breathe out. You must give back. So what we take in, we must let go. So you recognize something, you got to let go of it so that you will learn. Because if you hold on to it, you will not learn. You just keep on harping on that perception and you are stuck there. So learning means you let go of stages in learnings, perception. You can, in a sense, you can see the 5 aggregates as stages. In a sense, it's not all the time like that. Actually, the 5 aggregates happen at the same time, concurrently. But you can, for example, you can start with the body. So, okay, my body, 4 elements, and then there is, because of the body, there is feeling, right? Because of feeling, I notice this feeling, and then I form all kinds of ideas. And these ideas are rooted in greed, hate, delusion, that is formations. And all this affects the way I sense things, the way I see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. That's consciousness. So you notice every stage is letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go is learning, basically, right? It doesn't mean you stop learning. It doesn't mean you stop perceiving, right? So when you say, okay, this is impermanent, we are learning, we are also accepting the truth. We are accepting the fact that this is impermanent. So we are not reacting, we are not stopping. That's different. Stopping, ending, stopping is different. That means we stop learning. But here you say this is impermanent. So if you say this is impermanent, you have to let it go. That's the next step. So it's a natural process. So in a sense, you don't let go, in a sense. Okay, you keep on learning, but then it's something else. So these are all problem of words, actually, right? So, for example, the Buddha said we must love learning. So if to love learning means you keep on learning, you don't let go, right? So there's a problem with words. But when it comes to actions, you find there's always this letting go. That's how we learn things. Look at how we read the words on the page. We have to look at one word and then we let go of it rapidly. And as we do that, we make sense of the word, we make sense of the phrase, we make sense of the sentence, and we make sense of the passage. We make sense of the whole book. And then we make sense of the writer, and so on. Right? So it's all letting go in that sense. I hope that helps. No? All right.
Thank you, Brother Piya. There are another 2 more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the next one from Dr. Pang. Many youngsters have body image issues. They hate their forms. Wouldn't revulsion make it worse?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't use revulsion in ordinary language because this revulsion is what shall we say, a very deep kind of for people who really understand what the Dharma is. The Buddha is talking to us because we know some Dharma. He's talking about that's the end situation. That's what you're going to discover in the end. Don't be shocked, don't be surprised. That's the meaning. You have to find a way of describing it in such a way that it will help this young person say, wow, yeah, that's what I've noticed, then they connect with it. So you have to know how to talk to them in a way they can relate to what's happening to them. Why these young people are not happy is because they cannot connect with what's going on. So they want to find some kind of connection. So our skill as adults or as teachers is to help them connect with that. What they see is there, but somehow they find no connection. No connection means there's no meaning to them. So whenever you see, you mentioned the word meaning to me, I hear the word impermanent in my mind. It's connected somehow with impermanence, okay? And of course, there is impermanence, there is suffering. When there's suffering and impermanence, there is non-self. So now it's up to your skill how to explain all these amazing things about experience so that this person can connect with what's going on before them. For example, you can tell them, say, look, life is changed and you're going through a change, you see. That means you are learning more, you're growing more, you are discovering new things. So the question now is, are you ready to face these changes or not? And if you're ready, then you learn more, then you are more prepared for life. That's the short answer. This is a difficult question, but that's the short answer. Okay, next.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Sister Susie. How do we abandon perception when most of the time it is resultant or arise due to past karma?
Yeah. Well, the meaning here is we don't keep on harping on it. We don't keep on thinking about it when it's over. When it is arising, be mindful. If it is gone, you don't have nothing to be mindful about. You let go of it, okay? You go on with what is next, right? So for example, if I'm reading a sutta, I can't be thinking too much about something else, which is not connected with the sutta, right? So be where you are. That means you have to let go where you were before. That's the meaning. So we don't let go whatever is in the present, but the present is gone. Naturally, we don't have to let go. It goes away by itself. So that's the meaning of learning, actually. Letting it happen. When you let it happen, you don't have to hold on to it and you don't have to dismantle it. You watch it because that is change going on right before you. It's the words that make it difficult, actually. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Brother Piya. That's all.
That's all. Okay.
In the chat box.
Right. It's a little bit over time now.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Sister Isim. So now we take a good photo.
So this is the time when we rejoice. We have sacrificed a bit of time. In a sense, we have invested our time in something really meaningful to us. We all grow old. The days pass, the years pass. So as you age, you find what you learn now becomes more useful to you. For example, when I look at my work, I have all these 80 volumes of suttas, 20 years of suttas to help me. So all I need to do is just look back and see where the connections are, because the transition and the notes are already there. So of course, sometimes I need to update the language and so on. And I feel so happy. I say, oh, this is the good karma, you know, and you rejoice. So you have created this good karma today by sacrificing 1.5 hours, coming here, reciting the 3 refuges, the 5 precepts, keeping the precepts, doing some meditation, doing the study, listening to the study and asking questions and thinking about it. So remember this moment, this peace, and tell yourself, by all these good things I've done, may I be well and happy. May my teachers be well and happy. My loved ones to be well and happy. So send your kind thoughts to all those people who matter to you, including those you have difficulties with, because they matter to you too. This is the time, with the wonderful power of the Dharma, send those kind thoughts. And then we close with our gratitude to the 3 jewels, the Buddha, our teacher, the Dharma, the teaching, and the Sangha, the noble followers that we hope to join. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.